Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing great. I'm sure you're wondering what I'm doing out in the middle of nowhere. I'm sure you're also wondering why I have ketchup and mustard all down my side. Well, first off, you must know, if you must know, I got attacked by a very angry hot dog in Bakersfield. Secondly, the reason why I'm out here is to show you these guys. Look at them. Look at them all just moving, making energy. Well, except for that one. I was told by a guy out here working on him, that one's sleeping. He's a little tired, so he's not making energy right now. We're gonna talk about energy efficiency and the craziness that's going on in the world right now. I've got a story I wanna share with you out of oilprice.com. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. What are we talking about? Nuclear power? Yeah, that's right. It's Greta Thunberg's worst nightmare.
How dare you!
That's right. I'm gonna throw in a picture of my latest ride. I think it's really classy. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But really, think about this. The world is turning nuclear. At the same time, it's turning green. And the reason why is because countries around the world are starting to finally figure out, and I'm gonna share with you a story in a little bit of me working at a nuclear power plant and the reality of how darn green nuclear energy is and how this stuff is not so darn green. As a matter of fact, it takes a bunch of fossil fuel just to put it together, and there's not a really good return on investment when it comes to that, okay? So as I get into this story, I wanna thank today's sponsor, and that is Uranium Royalty Corporation. It's traded on the NASDAQ under the symbol UROY, and it's on the TSX Venture Exchange under URC, all right? We're gonna get to that company and what they've been doing. I've talked about this company before, and they keep hitting milestones and keeping promises, so I like that. So let's talk about the story out of oilprice.com. It's entitled, "The Future Remains Uncertain for Nuclear Energy." I gotta be honest with you, I think this is a little spin on words, and I'm gonna explain it here. Several countries around the world appear to have suddenly welcomed nuclear power into the clean energy mix, particularly in response to global gas shortages and rising oil prices. Now, I know that you're gonna say,
Ninja, wait a minute, hold on. Oil prices have come down off their highs, so have natural gas.
I'm here to tell you, this isn't the end of the story. This is not like the rest of life. Oil and natural gas are gonna just stay suspended at this price forever. I have a feeling we're gonna see much higher prices. Not only the inflation story with fiat currencies being blown up around the world, detonated and printed like mad, crazy, well, fiat currencies, but also the geopolitical tensions and stresses on the world right now. If the Ukraine-Russia war taught us anything, it is that nothing is stable. No agreements are stable. And you know what? You want to go even farther. Look at what's going on with Saudi Arabia, leaving the US dollar standard for oil and moving on to China and doing business with China and Russia. That should tell you a lot. So a lot of countries, like it says here, are now all of a sudden going, I think nuclear is green, because they're starting to figure out that these guys, some days, oh wait, he just started up. Oh, isn't that nice? So he took a break. He was on like a little siesta. The point is all these machines, they don't create the same amount of power that uranium does. It says right here, this divide, particularly seen in Europe, could have a major impact on the development of the nuclear power plant pipeline across the region, as some states reject plans for raising the EU's nuclear energy capacity. So let me ask you this. Do you think that throughout history, just because a country came out and said, this is our stance, and we're sticking to it, do you think they were right? You know, we saw an explosion of nuclear power plants around the country being built in the 60s and the 70s, and then they pretty much went dormant. And it's not because they weren't doing a great job. As a matter of fact, they did an excellent job. Countries started to figure out that I build 1 or 2 nuclear power plants, and I could replace so many other different types of energy. So let me get to the story I was gonna tell you. When I was working at a nuclear power plant, every 11 months we would have what's called an outage. And I would go and be a temporary employee as like a summer job. Every 11 months, they said, okay, we're gonna shut down one of the reactors. This is when we're gonna change out the spent rods, the fuel rods or uranium in the plant. We're going to store that away, and we're gonna do upgrades and upkeep on the can is what it's called. So I actually worked inside the can right up against the uranium rods, the glowing uranium rods. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. Point being is this, I would sit there and be amazed. I never knew this small amount of fuel that was being stored under liquid for safety, right, for the radiation, was producing so much more power. And I remember when I got the job there, they would show these graphics of how many coal plants would have to make this much, or how many of these wind turbines it would take. And it was absolutely amazing. Quite frankly, I think a lot of countries are finally picking up the fact that you are starting to see a revolution, because they're starting to realize the spent fuel rods, when stored properly, are so much greener than the amount of fossil fuels it takes to literally build one of these, let alone 1,000 of these wind turbines or solar power. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So let's move into today's sponsor, Uranium Royalty Corp. So I gotta ask my editor, I need some notes. I can't remember everything. I'm just a ninja. I'm just a dude with a bro. That didn't work out too good.
A few minutes later.
You gave them to me on a Twix box. Mrs. Ninja, I promise. These just fell out of the sky, I didn't eat them. All right, guys, let's talk about Uranium Energy Corp. Like I said, guys, on the NASDAQ, and this is one of the things I like about this company. I like it when mining companies take the time and the effort, and it is a lot of effort, to get listed on major exchanges. Why? It's because then everybody that likes to trade stocks and invest in companies has access to it. So they are on the NASDAQ and the TSX Venture. The NASDAQ, UROY, TSX-V, the ticker is URC. All right. The one thing I like about Uranium Energy Corp is they've been putting out promises and saying they have a growth plan and they are going to continue to acquire new lines of royalties, new investments, and they do not disappoint. They are continually putting out, and I think the last big press release was in November, that they had just acquired more royalty streams. But there's something even bigger that they just did. And this shows the true, not only nature of the company, but the belief that they have in the value of uranium. Over the last 5 years to say, or 10 years, to say that uranium has been on a tear and the price has been moving up is an understatement. The reason why is because countries know that it is extremely vital to their energy infrastructure to obtain this rare metal, this material, because without it, they're going to be in a lot of trouble when they have all of a sudden all these massive blackouts, right? They just recently announced a deal that they struck to receive physical uranium in lieu of fiat currency for one of their streaming deals. Now, this is the streaming deal that takes place at MacArthur River Project, which, by the way, is a project that just got restarted with the help of Uranium Royalty Corporation. So it was dormant, and now it is a producing project again. And Uranium Royalty Corp said, you know what? We're going to actually we want physical ownership of the uranium, and we're going to hold on to it because we believe that it is going to be worth more tomorrow or next month and next year than if we were just to take the cash and look into other projects. Now, with that being said, they are continually starting up other projects or investing in other projects and continually increasing that cash flow so that they can take that cash and increase the company size by buying more, by investing in more great projects around the country. So I really like that. I want to close on this and say something because you've heard me talk about this company before, and this should not be anything new to you because Admiranani has started amazing companies in the past, and this is one example of them. When you talk about royalty streaming companies, a lot of people talk about, gold royalty streaming companies and silver royalty streaming companies, but not a lot of people talk about uranium. And I know very successful billionaires and some that are getting right up to that, that have been talking about uranium, screaming for 5 years. Actually, they don't really have to scream. They're like, this is where we're making our money. We're crushing it in uranium. And I quite frankly think that all of these green stories around the country and around the world have only put the lid on the story and the value that is there right before your eyes, and that's uranium. As we see in California, Gavin Newsom, we already had one nuke plant close, and we had one that was slated to close, Diablo Canyon, and now they're turning around and going, you know what, we can't close it. Gavin Newsom's been on record as he's considering right now reclassifying it as green energy because there's no denying it. You could run around and spit out rhetoric or a narrative all day long, but when it comes to keeping the lights on, if you don't have real power, a real source of power that can produce real power, you are going to be in trouble. And so I have a feeling, and I believe that uranium is the future. And I believe, quite frankly, after what I've seen working, it's going to be some of the cleanest energy out there. I want to start putting my money in uranium. So I want to bring this company to you in the spotlight. I want to thank them for sponsoring this video. They've been a great support to this channel and keep me up here on the camera right in front of you guys. All right, guys, with that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.